Hey. This is Bonehead Mechanics, and I'm here to show you an update on this turd. Yeah, this turd. I haven't made a video for a long time. Oh, and yeah, I'm keeping this helmet on. So I figured I'd show you everything I've done to the Mustang since the last video.
By the time I was 13 years old, I already knew the car that I wanted. A 1967 Ford Mustang Coupe with those taillights all inverted and shit, and that gauge cluster like the chase scene in Gone in 60 Seconds. God, Nick Cage is so badass. Excuse me, got distracted there. Around this time, my family was moving to a new house. My dad and I had stopped by a family friend's place to borrow a forklift. Hell yeah! And this ugly, rusted out, Bondo-filled 67 Mustang was being stored on his property by another friend. They made the mistake of giving me the keys, and when that ticking, smoking 302 fired up, it was a done deal, boy. So, long story short, the cool guy that owned it actually inherited it from a friend who'd passed away, and he told me that I could buy the car for $1,000. I had to pay for the car myself, and this was around the time I started my first business venture, Tom's Refurb, which was nothing more than a small engine repair shop. To make the money, I fixed neighbors' mowers, ATVs, and go-karts. I bought and sold a go-kart of my own.
This is the rat cart. It started out as a $20 go-kart frame that I found at the swap meet, and then I fixed it up.
And I also worked all summer cutting grass. At the end of it all, right before my 8th grade school year, we drug a trailer out and I counted 1,000 smackers, the last few being literal dollar bills, and secured my first car at age 13. The next 2 years or so were uneventful. I couldn't drive and I wasn't all too mechanically inclined yet. The car had an old flat tappet 302 Windsor that smoked like a banshee, and it also had an automatic transmission in it. I played around with simple stuff like exhaust and wheels, and my idea of fun consisted of starting the car, revving it to the moon until my parents yelled at me, and doing it all again the next day. I was obnoxious. Around my sophomore year of high school, we finally tore the car apart. At this point, Tom's Refurb had grown a decent bit, and I always had steady work for myself. I also worked at a restoration shop and an engine building shop, so I was gaining experience, and I had the money to buy all the stuff needed to get the car on the road. By the way, don't do this. You will waste all of your money on one vehicle. While I am aware I got the steal of a lifetime on this car, it was rusty. I had to patch and replace a lot of the front subframe, the entire core support, battery box, and tons of miscellaneous patches here and there. We primed and repainted the whole front end of the car in a makeshift paint booth on the lift. So now, starting with a bare rolling chassis on 50-year-old suspension, it was time to put my baby back together. I decided to fully rewire the car with an American Auto Wire harness so it wouldn't catch on fire, and I also completely redid the interior. There's really nothing special in here besides the custom harness bar I made and these eBay Jeep seats that I bought at a swap meet for $140, which I don't recommend. They are not comfortable. For the drivetrain, my dad and I built a roller 5-liter motor, bored 30 over to a 306 with an almighty B-cam and some old iron heads. It also had an Edelbrock intake, polycarb, and long tube headers. I also did a manual transmission conversion with a T5 5-speed and a custom hydraulic clutch system. Now, after everything was plumbed, wired, and bled, it was time to fire up my car again!
Starting Thomas's car, take one. Ready? Take two, with oil pressure this time.
This felt amazing. After 3 years of hard work, my 67 finally fired back up. I've always been thankful to have a friend in my dad to share this automotive hobby with. He's the one that got me started, and we always have a ton of fun together.
Oh my god, I'm deaf.
Now that my car moved under its own power, I got an alignment done, and I tossed on an X-Pipe with no mufflers and dumps. This thing could wake the dead. We ended up getting it all roadworthy the day before my junior prom. That first drive to my high school was glorious.
Driving the Mustang to school, baby! First time! Woohoo!
A teacher yelled at me for the noise, but I didn't really care. On the way home, I blew a radiator hose, a wheel almost fell off, and none of my gauges worked.
Driving the car down the side of the road, and I'm still having an awesome time. And I think we blew a radiator hose.
It's safe to say I did not drive the car to prom. Oh, and here's a funny little goofy lesson I learned. When you drive a car around that you just built with no working gauges, it tends to overheat mysteriously and break stuff, specifically stuff in your cylinder heads like valves. Oh my gosh. Let me just say how sad and hard it was for me to have to get rid of those trash, poorly flowing iron heads to find a set of Edelbrock aluminum heads, and a better intake manifold, and a better carburetor, and an actual side pipe exhaust, turning this stock suspension hoopty into an actual death trap, piloted by one goofy ass teenager.
Oh, hey there.
Now I know this video is getting long, so I'll summarize the rest of the timeline for you. Noise complaint was what I decided to hand paint on the quarter panel the day before my senior year of high school. If you couldn't already tell, I like to paint. Right after I did this and the paint dried, a cop followed me all the way to a gas station. It's safe to say they don't think it's as funny as I do. Believe it or not, I daily drove my Mustang to school every single day, even in the winter, as long as it wasn't snowing. Speaking of high school, this is how you're supposed to leave at graduation. Over the past 3 years, the car's changed a lot. I installed a full CPP Stage 1 Pro Touring tubular suspension kit, a Tremec TKO 500, the Cloud twin disc clutch, Moser axles, a billet 8-inch center section with 380 gears, and these insane staggered 19-inch TSW wheels. And who can forget about the cosmetics and the two-stick. This car's character is its sound. I took that exhaust system from before and turned it into an overly intricate 3-mode system. I can choose from open headers with manual cutouts, straight pipes, or mufflers with the flip of a switch.
Mufflers.
I have no clue how much power it makes. I'd like to say mid 300s, but who knows. I do know it weighs under 3,200 pounds with my skinny ass and the ridiculous competition subwoofer in the front. It's enough power to have fun, break lots of shit, and get into a fair amount of trouble. And yes, I have gotten plenty of noise complaints in Noise Complaint. If you want to see more of Noise Complaint, hit that subscribe button. This is a car I am never getting rid of. I love it to death, and I hope you love learning about it too. Thanks for watching Tom's Refurb.
You need to
I think like and subscribe when I start posting videos.